Have you been wondering if you can be a witch or a tarot reader? That's coming up right after this. Hi everybody, welcome to my channel. I am Mel from Mel's Divination. I am the owner, the operator, the creator, and all things spiritual and witchy and tarot and energy and astrology here at Mel's Divination. Today we are going to discuss witchcraft and tarot readings, both of them together. We're talking about it all in one video. It's not going to be a super long video, so I figured we could sandwich it together because the answer is the same for both. So here we go. For those of you who do not know me, who are new, welcome to the channel. I try to post every single Wednesday anything that is spiritual, witchcraft, tarot, energy, or astrology based. And then on Fridays, I do a flip through Friday, which is anything that has to do with some of my oracle decks, my tarot decks. I have probably about 40 to 60 of them. They're all over my house. This is just some of the few that I have behind me. But they are all over my house, and I'm actually reorganizing so that they're all in the same place soon. And I decided to share those on Fridays specifically, so you can check those out on Fridays. If you're interested in this kind of content, please subscribe and share or comment or like so that you can be notified and you know when the latest video gets dropped. Sometimes I do giveaways depending on how many subscribers are available, and then sometimes I also even go live when I have time, because this is not my #1 job. All right, with all of that being said, today's video, here we go. We are here to talk about being a witch and also or a tarot reader. So how are those related? They are, but they're not. You can be a witch and not a tarot reader. You can be a tarot reader and not a witch, okay? But I'm sandwiching them together because the concept, the philosophy of how I think of these things is the same. So that's why I'm sandwiching it together. Now, what I'm talking about specifically is how can you be a tarot reader? How can you be a witch? Can anybody just do it? Do you have to have the generations in your family? And the answer is no, you don't have to have the generations in your family. Yes, anybody can do it. It does help to have gifts. It does help to have an establishment in the family where people have kind of taken you under their wing, or it's been already determined. But you don't have to do that. It doesn't have to be. You can be the first generation in your family, the first and only person who's a witch or a tarot reader, or both, like me. You do not have to have a big generational thing. I do have family members, as I've come out of the closet in my family, that have actually practiced things similar to witchcraft and who have done readings and things and have had mediumship abilities. It turns out, I found this out as I got going with my business and just stood in my own truth. But I didn't know that going into this. I had no idea when I was young, when I was first inspired by it. I had no idea. So it's very interesting how my story became my story, and I found out that that people in my family had certain abilities or have done things, and I just was like, wait, you were a sneaky witch, or you were a sneaky medium, or you were a sneaky intuitive, and you didn't share that with me, and I felt weird. And yeah, because I was predominantly raised Catholic, and that's a big no-no. Anyhow, so you don't have to have somebody in your family that is like, oh, come on, this is how we do it. You don't have to. You can, but you don't have to. So to be a tarot reader, you can just take a class. That is how I started. I mean, I started my journey before tarot. I started my journey with runes and dreams and dream interpretation. And then I went into oracle cards, which I took a class on. And then I went into tarot, which I took a class on. And I built my intuitive abilities upon, I was gifted with it. Yes, I had a gift for it and I was pulled to it. But just like working out, and I compared it to working out when I was telling a girlfriend of mine who I've known forever. We were talking about it the other day, and she's like, how do you know? How do you? And she was genuinely asking me questions because I've known her since we were like 11. And I was explaining things to her, and I was like, it's like a muscle. That is the best way for me to describe anything with doing readings. So when we're talking about psychic, I'm putting it in air quotes because I don't love that term. Watch my psychic being called a psychic video, but psychic abilities. So when we talk about tarot or oracle or runes or scrying or any of the divination type of vibes, right? Mediumship even, which I'm not, but I'm sure it works the same way. It is like a muscle. Learning to trust your intuitive hits, learning what those are in your own body, learning what that feels like, learning what it means, learning that you know what you know and this is legit, and not letting other people and other things talk you out of it. For instance, there's been clients, plenty of them, that are skeptical, or you're doing a reading for them, I'm doing a reading for somebody, and they're like, but this is what's happening, because in the reality, maybe what I'm seeing isn't really the logic of what's going on in the 3D realm, but in the energy, this is what the person's feeling, but they're not acting that way. And so my client is like, but they're not doing this, they're not doing this, and they're like arguing with me, trying to knock me, trying to get me to change what I'm saying. And I know what I know. When I first started learning, I'd get all flustered and be like, no. It took me time to learn to have that confidence and to trust my guides and to trust my intuition and to really hone that. But I know what I know. And that's actually something one of my mentors has taught me. Like, I know what I know. That's her phrase, actually, my friend Jocelyn. It's her phrase. I'm actually stealing her phrase right now. So I just gotta have to give her a little bit of a shout out. But it's so true that when I get a feeling of something, that when I'm picking up on something and I'm telling a client, this is what I'm seeing, it's truly what I'm seeing. And maybe they're not seeing that in the 3D reality right now, but in a few months or sometimes a few years, I mean, obviously it all depends on the situation, it plays out. And they come back and they're like, oh, you were right. I can't believe this, blah, 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 blah. And sometimes it takes a long time for it to come to fruition, but it's what I see, right? And it's learning how to trust that in yourself and how to listen to your guides and listen to yourself and listen to your intuition. That takes time. That takes practice. Learning the definitions of the cards takes time and practice. And I have mentioned in my other tarot video, which I will link up here, I don't just regurgitate the traditional tarot meanings. I mean, sometimes I will say, oh yeah, this card means such and such, and it's this kind of a signifier. And I will use that, but I also use my own internal messages that I get from spirit, and it channels through. And often it will have almost nothing to do with the actual card that I get. I'll get imagery, I'll get scenes, I'll see a situation, a movie, a person, a thing that I know, and I'll have to describe it to the client. That's all over time. That's all stuff that I have developed with practice, with doing readings. I've done over 10,000 readings for clients. Some of them weren't paid, some of them were paid, some of them were half price. I've done over 10,000 professional readings, and that's when I was counting. I've done more than that, likely. And by doing that, you really, you stretch that muscle. Thinking, again, comparing to working out, to exercising, just like anything in any kind of real world example. The more surgeries a doctor does, the more comfortable a doctor is. Not that doing psychic readings is similar to doing surgery, but you learn, you practice. The more you practice, the more you get good at it, the more you know what you're doing, right? So it's like that. Can you do it? You who just woke up today and you love tarot, but you don't know how and you're scared? Yeah, absolutely. Sign up for a class. Start watching videos on YouTube. Get a deck of cards. Start pulling a card for yourself every day and write down what you feel about it. You absolutely can do it. You don't have to have it in your family. You don't have to feel like you're a psychic. You don't have to have confidence in yourself to get started. Should you have confidence in yourself before you have readings? Yeah, you need to have some before you start taking people's money. Absolutely. Giving free readings away, that's a different situation. And I had to do, before I got certified to be a reader, I had to do over 100 readings for free and document them for people. That was part of how it worked when I took one of my classes, because to get your intuition, that was one of the requirements with one of my teachers, because to get your intuition and learn what your intuition is, the values that I was taught, and I still hold that very near and dear. You should not just jump on board, and I've seen this a lot in this day and age with the pandemic, with people working from home being like, oh, I'm just gonna go on a psychic hotline, because I have a lot of friends that work on them. I'm just gonna go on a psychic hotline and get on. Anybody can do this. Yes and no. Anybody can do this. However, you're also scamming people if you haven't done the work, if you haven't done the spiritual work, if you haven't done it on yourself. And now you're taking money. You're taking people's money and you're holding people's lives in your hand, and you're saying things to people that you don't know what you're talking about because you haven't put in the work and the practice. So make sure when you first get a deck, when you start learning, you take it seriously. If you're going to take people's money, don't mess with people's lives. Practice on yourself, practice on friends and family. Be honest with them, I'm still learning, things like that. Be real, because karma comes back, babes. Karma comes back. So, and I've seen it come back on people. So just not be scared of it, but be real. Be real with yourself and be real with the people that you do readings for. I always am. If there's something I don't see, I don't know, I'm not comfortable reading around, or I've never read for before, I will tell people that. I've never done that before, but I'll gladly do it for you. Let's see what happens. Let me know how it turns out. You know, I will say that to people. I am very, very transparent, because I was that girl who once got a bunch of readings way back in the day, wasn't listening to my intuition. My intuition was screaming something and I didn't trust myself, and everybody sold me the fairy tale, and the fairy tale was bull. It was BS. And instead of listening to myself, I spent a lot of money on readings that were all wrong. So make sure if you are giving readings for people, especially if you decide to do it for money, that you are transparent, that you are genuine. Do not sell stories. Don't do it. It's not, there's too many people giving it a fake name. Okay, so that's the tarot group. Let's talk about being a witch. So can you be a witch and it not have a mentor, it not run in your family, and you just wake up today and decide, you know what, I've been watching videos from Mel, I've been watching videos from Olivia, the Witch of Wonderlust, or Frankie, the Chaotic Witch Aunt, or Annie from The Green Witch. I've been watching these people, these influencers, and I really like what they have to say. I'm so fascinated. I don't know if I am one. Can I be a witch? Absolutely. Number one, do not. And the reason why I don't show my spells is there's a bunch of reasons, but do not get overwhelmed by influencers. Take tips and tricks, that's cool, but it's very easy, even for me, and I've been practicing way before there was a YouTube, before there was an Instagram, before there was Facebook. It's very easy to get something called imposter syndrome, where you're on social media, and it's like this across the board. It's like this about yourself physically as well, where like I'm thinking of filters, all those filters on Instagram. It's very easy to look on influencers' videos that are very beautiful and very edited and very careful. I don't edit very much. I don't know if you guys have noticed, but it's very easy to do that and be like, well, I'm not good enough. No, yes, you are. You can start with something as simple as a little bit of rosemary, a little bit of lavender, going for walks outside, taking some baths. You can start with very minimal things. You do not need to have the huge, huge things. Get a book or two, or don't, but I do recommend it. In the libraries, if you live in the United States, I can tell you libraries are starting to carry witchcraft books, because I took out 2 years ago a conjure book that I wanted to read and wanted to buy, but wasn't sure if I would like it. And now and I had to return it before I read the whole thing because I'm slow with witchcraft book readings, I ended up really liking it and put it on my list of, okay, I need to buy this book. So even libraries are starting to put them out there, so you can take a book out from the library for free and read a little bit on it. Investigate. You don't have to be a specific witch. I don't label myself. I can't even tell you what I am. An eclectic witch, a chaos witch, I don't know. I'm not a green witch, but I am a green witch. I'm not a kitchen witch, but I am a kitchen witch. I'm a bunch of things. I'm definitely not Wiccan. I can tell you that, because I do not follow the prescribed religion of Wiccan, but I do follow a lot of the pagan Sabbats. So you don't have to feel like you need to fit into a certain box. You can start reading and start researching. That is your best way. And you don't have to have deities. And be careful. Watch my intros to deity video when you start that. Start learning how to ground, how to center, how to meditate, how to work with energy. That is the best way to get started. Get out in nature. Often that is a good way to get started as well. You don't have to work with crystals. I can tell you, Olivia, the Witch of Wanderlust, says it often that she doesn't work with crystals. You don't have to. You don't have to work with herbs. You don't have to. Some people don't. You don't have to. So find what works for you. You don't have to work with candles if you live somewhere that you can't burn stuff. Of course, I'm always burning candles, but I've pulled back on that because Tonks, my cat, has actually developed asthma, and I've had to buy an air purifier and be much more careful with incense and sage and candles and burning things around her. She's actually in the other side of my house right now because she will get an asthma attack. So I have to be cautious now with her. So be mindful with your pets. She's 12. She's 12 and she's chunky. She's my chunky monkey. You guys have seen her. So just be careful with your pets as well if you're burning things. So yeah, tarot and witchcraft. I mean, this is going a little bit longer than I expected it to go, but that's pretty much all I wanted to say about it. Tarot and witchcraft, you can absolutely wake up and not have it running in your family. The one thing I do want to caution you on is making sure you do your research, being mindful of cultural backgrounds and differences. And if you jump into witchcraft and you're using spells, I would wait until you're more comfortable with energy and do your research when it comes to things like oils, when it comes to things like herbs, stuff that could be toxic when it comes to things like crystals. And I've talked all about that as well with oils. I'll link it up here. With crystals, I'll link it up here. So just make sure you're doing your research. But research. You don't have to have a teacher. It does help, but you don't have to have one. I didn't have a teacher. I started on my own and taught myself, and there's still a lot that I want to learn. It's a never-ending journey. Witchcraft is a never-ending journey. And it's not something that you just wake up someday and you're like, I mastered it. It doesn't work that way. There's so many branches and areas and information and spells and things and approaches and thought processes. You don't just roll over one day and you're all done. It doesn't happen. It's not like a school that you just graduate from. I hope this has helped you guys. I think that's everything I wanted to say about it. So in short, yes, you can be a tarot reader, a psychic, psychic, loose term, and a witch or a witch. Do you have to be a tarot reader to be a witch? No. Do you have to be a psychic to be a witch? No. Do you have to be a witch to be a tarot reader? Again, no. They do not have to be clumped together, but they can be. The one other thing I will say, and I believe I've said it in other videos, and I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself, but it doesn't hurt to, is if you are practicing witchcraft and doing spell work, it is good to get comfortable with some form of divination. Whether or not you are doing it professionally, that's not the point. The point is, if you are using spell work or doing energy work to influence things, it is good practice to use some kind of divination, runes, pendulum, scrying, whatever, tarot, oracle cards. It's good to use some kind of divination prior to doing this energy manipulation, prior to doing a spell, to make sure that the outcome is going to be in favor of what you're hoping for, because sometimes it doesn't always work out on the way you think. With that, I will wrap things up. If you liked this video, please hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified when I post videos. I post on Wednesdays, I post flip through Fridays every Friday, and sometimes I go live. So with that, I'll see you guys all in the next video.